No worries at all, at all. So this is the community call for November, and if you looked at the agenda, then you would have seen that this would be the cloud data sources demo, and unfortunately they couldn't make it this month. So we've had a switch of teams, and so today me and Brian is going to be here from the community squad. And we're going to do some showcase of some of the plugins that you might not have used or have used, but not quite sure how to use them. So we'll be doing that. So this is a live right now, but it will also be recorded and shared on YouTube. So if you couldn't make it today, then you can also rewatch it or watch it later on YouTube. So yeah. I think let's get started. So me and Brian, we work at Grafana Labs, and we love plugins. It's one of the things that we work mostly on, I would say. And Brian especially joined Grafana. Like you had been developing plugins for quite a while before you joined, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was making plugins before joining. And joined almost 4 years ago.
Nice. And what plugins did you work on before joining?
So there were some private plugins that were done, applications
that you can talk about
early apps. So weren't suitable. Well, really were not suitable for publication because they were very specific to that environment. And then the data table panel, which has been available since probably version 5, and the gauge panel, which is also works back to version 5. And I had been working on lots of enterprise plugins internally, which like the Oracle plugin and ServiceNow, a ton of the commercial oriented, and so sources mainly, but as far as panels go, the gauge and data table, and I have some new come out very soon.
Is something you can talk about? Something you want to share?
Not really. The main one is the dot diagram panel. That's furthering the idea behind the diagram panel, which is Mermaid.js based. And the dot diagram is the dot notation, which provides you a lot more visualization options and all of the neat features that you find in something like Polystat are incorporated into it. So I'm pretty excited to get that one out. I think it'll be a very useful panel for everybody.
Yeah, no, for sure. The diagram panel is using Mermaid. I know is a really popular one, and I'm sure that a lot of people are watching this are using as well. So being able to configure something like it with the dot format, I think could be really interesting.
Yeah, very popular. I love that panel. So
yeah, me too. I'm using it myself for a few things at home.
Great for IoT, great for just systems overviews, how things are, process workflows. So those are really, really useful panels. So if you haven't checked that one out, definitely have a look at it. So the one that I was going to talk about today was the Polystat Panel, and that's been out for a while, and it has some unique features behind it. And
I'm just going to show I will pause you there. I'm just going to show real quick the diagram panel, just for anyone who's not aware of it. So it's called Diagram, and it's written by Jeremy. And it uses Mermaid.js to configure these very nice diagrams that are data driven, so you can use your data inside them. It's really cool. Cool. So I'm gonna stop sharing and I'll hand over to you.
All right. Well, I'll quickly, I will share my screen real quick.
So you'll be sharing the Polystat panel.
Yes. So it's nothing like talking about it and actually showing it being used. So I'm going to
For sure.
simply create a new dashboard and add an empty panel. And I'm going to go ahead and put in a query. That will be, I'm just going to start out with a graph panel. So this will be a sure and equals Prometheus. Just pick one of these machines and here I want this, not equals empty. That's something, a problem with my the metrics that I'm collecting. I'm putting in a tag that I really don't want to have in there. So I have a nice view here, and we'll go ahead and reformat the name of the metric to be there's your simple graph panel, and we'll just say this is temperature. Normal things that you would do with Grafana, do a query to a TSDB, set up your legend. So this is aliasing all of the metrics that are coming in here, and you can see that these are for this particular machine. This device has 6 GPUs in it, and they're running at between 67 and 69 degrees Celsius. So let me just come back in here. So the Polystat panel has a different view of this on the Polystat. And what this does is give you a overview of essentially a single stat panel that will group data together. So you have multiple visualizations for it. And really the motivation behind this is to give another visualization type that you can display a large number of metrics in a compact form. So obviously the graph panel was kind of busy, and you can set thresholds on it. You can do interesting thing with graphs, but if you want to at a glance look at it, you're kind of stuck with scrolling around and trying to find what point a problem is occurring. So this is really a more of a business intelligence type of panel where you can display a lot of metrics and then group them together. So along with adding threshold, you can see exactly what is having an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and inside of here, I'm going to set some thresholds.
So this feels very much like the single stat or the stat panel.
Yes.
Is there like a main difference? Like what?
Yes.
When would you use this one?
Yes. So the main difference is how you can group things together. So at this point, it looks, if you change the shape of visualization, it's going to look just like a single stat panel.
Yeah.
Just like a stat panel. So the 3 different types of shapes are available. We'll see how this works out. So I'll go ahead and add thresholds. I'm going to say that 68 is bad. Go ahead and we'll see that this one this one right here is exceeding my threshold. So you can have a panel that pops up and go, okay, well that one's running too hot, and I may want to drill in and be able to see it. So functionality wise, at this point, the single stat or just the stat panel is very similar to this. What this does extra is that you have the ability to create what's called composites. What the composites are, the ability to group metrics together so that you can then roll up the state of the threshold violations up to the final object. I'll go ahead and create one of these.
Could you maybe give an example of like when would that be useful?
Right. So right now, I have these 6 objects being displayed. I'm not interested in. I only want to know if there's something wrong, and if I have 20 machines with 6 GPUs, then I've got 120 things to look at. So you would not be able to see that very well on your screen if you're having up on a kiosk, on a display, or any other dashboard. You're going to have a very dense view that you can't see the actual values and what the actual object is that's having a problem. So this is where the grouping things together makes a big difference.
Okay.
So we're just going to put this together as the composite name is going to be temperature. And we'll go ahead and put in, it accepts, for metrics, it will accept a regular expression, but I'll just go ahead and this.
Oh, I see. So you're grouping all the series that like matches that regex together into one. I see.
Right. And then you're going to get the worst state. If you use the tooltip, it's going to order the, you can have choices on how to order the tooltip as well. So it will sort the worst from top to bottom, or alphabetical, or however you want to display it, because you may end up with 100 metrics inside here, and the ones at the bottom are all green, and you want the red and yellow on top, or red and orange. You're to have a full view, and where this comes in handy is do that. All right, so we have this nice view right here. Display. So I'm going to go ahead and so there are other formatting options. So this one you would want to have the temperatures here, obviously in Celsius. You may want to put the metric unit on side of here. It's defaulting to short right now, and you can put it an override that will give. Once again, we'll do temperature, and all those are. And now you'll have the nice Celsius. Okay. So now, if so, this panel is somewhat useful. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to add in template variables. So if you haven't used template variables, they provide you the ability to select between multiple items.
I don't know if it's just my screen, but it seems to be stuck on TMP here.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully that will.
Oh, there. Now maybe it's just me. Okay. Okay. Now I'm in the variables editor.
All right. So now I'm in here. I'm going to say I want to get the hosts that are available. I have a template variable now here called host, and I'm getting the label values for this metric out of Prometheus. And here are my 4 devices. Okay, let's go here. I'm going to adjust my query to be to use this variable. So this will be, go ahead and add on. I'll like this. And of course, is a live demo, so you're going to have an interesting. All right, took the metrics out. Do this, so you can use a template variable inside a composite name. And that's going to be now the machine that I picked. And I can switch
Oh,
between
yeah.
multiples. But I'm going to go back to the template variable, and I'm going to allow multi-value. And now I want to say I want to be able to see these 3 machines. So now you have the worst case value. I actually have that match on the on per host. Give me 1 second. So if you don't have this set up, let me just remove this. You have the ability to hide the members or show the members. So if I turn this off, that essentially gives you all of the raw values you would see with a stat
Gotcha.
panel. And you can see that you start getting a lot of metrics. So once you have composites, then you can hide these and roll up the data for each one of them. Originally, I have another.
It's a lot of GPUs for one host.
A lot of GPUs for one host. Yeah, in this case, it's only be showing 6.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I would have to be doing I believe that is the name.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And then I'm going to do, you can put inside the regular expression. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, the host name.
So then you start being able to do that.
Cool.
So the template variables all work inside of the regular expressions, and now you can say, well, here are the actual temperatures. So this is a GPU that's running at 48 degrees Celsius, and there's one running at 67, and this one goes from 66 to 68, and that one's 68, and most of them are up there. You're seeing the threshold violations here differently because I have the decimal set to default, which is 0. So I would add in the decimal settings up here. I think no, those are okay. Decimals. There we go. So now you're actually seeing, because it was rounding up the value. So 67.85 is not in violation of the threshold settings. So now you have this view that you can see 3 different devices. We can add the other 4th one. And so if you have a whole slew of hosts, then you're able to see these. So I'm going to go ahead and add another query.
Because if you were using, let's say, like the stat panel, you would instead have to like click on them to drill down into another dashboard, right? Just to see the actual values. But here we're able to use the tooltip to just get a quick glance without leaving the dashboard.
Yes. So now you start doing this. Now I have these are correlated metrics. So speed is going to determine what the core temperature is. So I can now add a composite. I can add to this composite the fans. Now I can see the fan speeds and the temperatures all together in one shot.
And the same composite.
So, yep, in the same composite. I'm going to save that. I'm just going to go into here real quick. I'm going to create a new panel, and so I'll just demonstrate the drill down aspect of it. Go in here, Prometheus.
Yeah, because you could still, of course, drill down using this as using the polystat as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, you could drill down to another polystat and let's see, drill down and go back to my back to here. I just want to get this. This is where live demos are always fun. I do have this all prepared, but I didn't want to have this pre-made and confuse everybody. So I'm just going to put in a fixed name for now. Actually,
Yeah.
no, let's not do. Let's not do. We'll put in a template variable, just like we did before. It'll be host and Prometheus. We'll get my labels out. We'll have multi-values. Go back to here. We should start seeing data here. Yes. So there's a.
Yep.
Okay. So I have now this panel right here. So I'm going to take the URL to this, and I want to jump from the main panel. Let me get out of here. I'm going to go into, let's dismiss this. I'm going to go in here and say, I want to click through for this override. I want to go to this other dashboard.
So you're not using data links right now, right?
Not using data links right now.
No.
And what that will do this, we can go into here and I'm going to pick that, and it takes me straight into the next drill down.
Very nice.
So you can also pass the name of these template variables into the URL and auto select the template variable that is specified from the previous one. So if you were to click on this one, it would take you to the drill down with the template variable set to that device name. So now you have a large dashboard that's very tailored to that specific one. So yeah,
So you have like a high-level dashboard where you can quickly see, at a glance, this is how my GPUs are feeling right now. And then if you see any issues, any problems, you can just click on it and you get more details.
Yes, exactly. That's really the intention behind it, is to be able to have a overview of a system that's dependent on tons of metrics and roll the state of those metrics all up into one single stat that you're displaying on here, and then be able to drill down into other dashboards that are probably going to give you more useful information. So this is really kind of like a first level view of a data center where you may have network devices and could be cooling systems. So kind of the infrastructure portion of services. It could be Kubernetes, tons of containers, and you want to know which ones are being out of memory killed, or how many are being created. So you have a nice visualization to a view of tons of metrics with a very small amount of real estate on the display. So that's what that does.
Really cool. Well, thank you so much for the demo. I've only briefly looked at this, so this was useful even for me to get a good overview on how to use it properly as well. And you've been working on this for a while, or
this one's been out for, I think, a year and a half.
Oh yeah,
somewhere around there. and it is a pretty popular plugin, and usually it's used for this kind of scenario where it's an executive type dashboard.
So it's let's see if I can find it. It's this one, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So if you're curious to try it, feel free to try it out. If you have a recent version of Grafana, you can even install it from without leaving your Grafana instance with the new plugin manager. Cool. Well, thank you so much. I think I'm gonna continue on the plugin track. So we've gotten a really cool, getting started with the Polystat panel from Brian here, and I wanted to take the opportunity to show a few other plugins as well. So part of my role here at Grafana is to figure out, is there any gaps in the Grafana experience that we can fill with plugins? And that means that I regularly prototype and I try different concepts and new plugins. And some of them become nothing. There have been a few failures. Not failures, but maybe not as popular as I would have hoped them to be. On the contrary, there are some that I feel have exceeded my expectations, and there is a few of them that I wanted to show you today. And the first one being the Json API plugin. So if you go to if you go to the plugins page here, there are a few data sources for JSON. But if you had picked one of if you're using like the simple JSON, or I believe the one that's called just JSON, you would find out that you would need to implement the REST API yourself, and that might not be what you want. Let's say that you have a endpoint that just serves JSON, and in this case it's you don't have control of this data or this endpoint, but you still want to visualize it. So you don't have a data source, you don't have a database anywhere. It's just an endpoint serving JSON. So the cool thing with the JSON API then is that you can take something like this. So this is an API that returns JSON. And we can see that we have a document with items here. There's an array here with bunch of metadata for plugins on grafana.com. So we see what type of plugin it is, the ID. We see some interesting metrics and how many downloads there have been, when it was created, updated, things that I would want to visualize in a dashboard. So how do I do this? I go to a dashboard, and I have set up a data source already. The TV chef in me, and I'm gonna use that. So I've set up a data source with this endpoint that I've shown you just now, and I'm gonna create a new panel here, and I'm gonna select my data source here, and this is what you see. So you have in your query editor a bunch of buttons here. And this is really just a tabbed editor. So you can click through these, and you can see different aspects of your query. So let's say that you have a path that you want to be dependent on a template variable or something else. You can definitely do that here. You can add query parameters, headers, or even a body to that request. But most of your time you're going to spend here in the field config. So every row here is going to extract one set of values from your JSON document. And so how do we extract data from a JSON document? There are a few ways to do it. The default one is using a query language called JSON Path that's been around for a while. And it looks something like this, where if I type a $, that's going to refer to the root of that JSON document. And if I type a period here, it's going to autocomplete for me what properties are available on that level. So I'm going to select the items here. And here I have the option to filter or select a subset of those elements. But here I'm just going to take all of it for now. And let's say that let's just pick out the plugin ID. I'm going to switch here to the table view so we can see it, because it's not graphable right now. Cool. So we can already extract data very quickly using this. So I'm going to add another field here. I'm clicking the plus sign, and I'm just copy pasting this. And I'm going to extract another field called a type code. And this is just the type of that plugin. So we have a ton of data sources and panels here. And we can even use an alias here. So I'm going to just call this type, and we call this ID instead. And what's cool now is that I can take this data from this endpoint, and I can do some processing inside of Grafana. So let's see if we can add a transformation to this. If I do a group by, then I can, in this case, I can group by the type, and I can choose to calculate, count the number of plugins of that type. So we can see now that on Grafana.com, we have 116 data sources. That's pretty good, I would say. Not as many apps and render we only have one of. So I'm able to take this data from this endpoint and quickly work with it inside the query editor, apply transformations. I could even use something like not pie chart this time, but maybe the bar chart. I think we should be able to use. And if I click off the table view, now we can start visualizing this data. And every time I query this data, then I will get that data back from that endpoint every single time. So it might be worth noting that data is not stored between queries. So you need to provide all the data every single time. If you need to store data across queries, then you probably want to look at storing it in a proper database or a time series database or something like it. So this is really just to for extracting data from a JSON array typically, but you can do other visualizations as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I use this a lot, and I recently added support for a different query language called Jsonada. I'm not an expert on Jsonada, but this has been a very, this has been asked for a while, because Jsonada, as opposed to JSON path, will let you do operations. So post-processing, you can do math operations, you can average, you can sum, you can do much more than you could with just regular JSON path. Again, I'm not good enough to Jsonada to show you how, but there is plenty of documentation on their website if you want to explore that as well. So that is everything I wanted to show you with the JSON API data source. And the next plugin I wanted to show you is the static data source. And this is one that I really like. I'm using this a lot. And so if you go to the Grafana.com and you see this little lightning sign, then you got the right one. So this static data source is it's interesting because it's not actually a data source per se. It doesn't make any requests. It merely mocks the response of the would-be data source. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I go here to and select this static data source here, then in my query editor here, I get some new fancy fields here. I could set a name for my response here. Many visualizations don't care, but some do. The preferred visualization type is only really used in Explorer to tell Explorer how to visualize this data. But the interesting parts are really down here, the fields and the values. So the fields are really the columns in a table, and the values are the rows. So now we can add a new field here. Let's assume that we didn't have the API that I just showed you, the plugin API. We don't have that. The team is not ready. They're still working on it. Okay. So how can we start prototyping that dashboard, even though we don't actually have the data? So let's say that we can emulate that response that we would get. So if we do type code, for example, and let's call account field as well for the number of plugins. And I happen to know that this should be a number, so I can define the type of that field here. And I'm happy with that schema. And you can see that it's already been starting to populate things down here. And now I can just add a new row. I can start typing things in here. I don't remember how many panels we had. Any guess? Was it 50, 60? No? No, I think it's up at
180.
180.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, probably. And then data sources. Give me a number. A good one.
90.
90. Wonderful. I like that. So, and then we have apps. We don't have as many of them. Let's do
18.
18. Okay. Very felt strongly
Very
about
specific.
that one. Yeah. So now if we switch to the table view, we can see that we're already starting to build this query, right? This is a mocked response. So we're actually returning the query right back to the visualization. So if I switch back now to the bar chart, and I switch away the table view, now I have the exact same visualization here, but I'm not making any network requests, no traffic, and I can quickly change these values around, right? I can update this really quickly, and I like this for when I'm doing like a prototype of a dashboard. For example, I want to try out a new idea. I want to demo something for a different team, for example. And I'm also using this a lot when I'm trying out new panel plugins, because sometimes it's not obvious what the panel needs to work. So I use the static data source to prototype the response for that specific visualization. I'm reviewing plugins for Grafana.com as well. So this is what we use to create mocks, so we know that we can test those panel plugins. So this is something I use a lot, and yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, are you using this yourself?
I have not, but I will use it going forward. That's very nice. Do you want to show sharing, since you have this static data source with all of this data ready to go?
Yeah.
What if you want to show how you share data between panels, so that you don't have to re-enter all of this data into another panel and have multiple visualizations?
Are you thinking about mixed panels, or the mixed data source?
Not the mix, but the dashboard data source.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes. So you can do another panel here, and then let's see. I'm going to give this a better name: static data. So now I can go to this one, and if you don't know it already, there is an option down here that's called the dashboard data source. And what that allows you to do is that you can pick the results from a different panel. So now I can take that result, and let's see if we can
pick the other one.
Oh, sorry. Yes, absolutely right. So now we have the same. See if we can pick a better visualization for this. Let's do the pie chart. There we go. So now I've set up, just like Brian mentioned, that I've set up the data in this panel that is completely static. And now I can start using it in my other panels as well. So yeah, thanks for that. That's a really useful.
It's one of those useful features that people may not know about. And
yeah, for
especially
sure.
using that static one, that could be really, really nice to have a table, and so you can see your raw data. And if you're working on a new panel, having other views of the data be very useful.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that was
that,
a late 7X feature that slipped in, and I don't think really got much fanfare, but I use
yeah.
it a lot. It's really nice to have it. And
No, it is.
the big advantage is that if you are querying Prometheus, you're not querying Prometheus on each panel. So
yes.
you
So
get some performance increase with that.
yeah, because if you have a lot of panels and they're all making the same query, then if you have 10 by 10 panels, so you're going to make 100 requests, and that can easily take down your dashboard. So yeah, it's like, if you instead use, make the query once and then reuse that result across all your panels, for sure. There is a blog post on this if you want to know more. I think it's called the dash. If you Google the dashboard blog post on Grafana, I think it's somewhere in there. I don't know it in my head.
I'd be surprised to find it with dashboard and Grafana.
Dashboard data source. I can't remember. Will look it up and I will put it in the agenda in the Google Docs document for this call.
Cool.
So let's move on. The next panel, I have two panel plugins that I really want to show you. The first one is the dynamic text one. This one is very similar to the built-in text panel. So I'm not sure if you are aware of it, but there is a text panel inside of Grafana. So here you can type Markdown, you can type HTML, and it will update for you here. So hello, and this is great if you, for example, want to do instructions, or if there is static documentation for the dashboard you want to show. But the problem with this is that it's very it's hard coded, or it's static. You can't change this. So once you set the content, it's there. So what the dynamic text plugin does is it changes that. It makes it the text content of that text panel into a template. So you could then use something like this. I'm gonna zoom in there a little bit here. So you can create a text panel that looks like this. So it's still Markdown, but you can use these placeholders here. And this is using a template engine called Handlebars. Let me show you what I mean. So in this case, and you can see down here that I'm using the static data source here to mock this response here. And if I go down to the side here, you see the text content here, and I'm referring to the field names in my response here. So I can easily change this. Hello, this is my app, and I can certainly edit this as Markdown, and it will be updated with the actual data. So this is actually super handy. I've been talking with a few users who've actually been asking for this because the one use case is that they have a microservice architecture, and they have a lot of services. And they want to bring them into Grafana, and they want to visualize, instructions, where to find them, where's the documentation, where's their health endpoints, and stuff like that, where you can get very dynamic instruction set for a dashboard. So imagine if you want to provide instructions based on a value from your data source. So if the CPU temperature is below a certain value, then you can update this text panel to show what you need to do when this happens. So really cool if you want to provide some form of documentation that varies by data. And you can of course include HTML to support images. You can even use values from the the template variable as well, and you can also default to content if there is no response from the data source. So imagine where no data means that something is wrong, then you can definitely show some instructions here as well.
Very nice.
Yeah. So this is this was very interesting because this is actually a super small plugin, and I haven't had to update it that much, but seems to be used a lot. So love when that happens. Low maintenance, high popularity. I love it. So I'm gonna end with I still have some time. I'm gonna end with a really cool, according to me, panel. It's called the panel or the calendar plugin, and yeah, hate to surprise you, but it's a calendar. Yeah, it's a calendar in Grafana. So I admit that this was a project that I did kind of just for fun, and I tweeted it, and a lot of people reached out to me and was like, "Could you publish this? Like, why? Why would you use this?" And it turns out that there's a bunch of use cases for this. For example, a few users who use this to visualize maintenance windows, for example, when important events are happening, when they're shutting down things, and it's just important for the operators and everyone in there to see it. And the cool thing is that a big part of this is that it's data driven. So you can extract calendar events from any data source. So let me show you. So here I have a demo dashboard, and it works just like an ordinary calendar, and you can see the dates from the current dashboard interval. But you can also click anywhere on these, and you can hold down Shift and click to select the time range. So you see a little button here that pops up, and that will update the time range for the entire dashboard. So that's just if you want a different way to change the dashboard interval, that's really nice. But so the cool thing is that any data source that we can return a time field and a string field can be used as a data source for this calendar event or a calendar panel. So in this case, we have logs being fed into the calendar panel. Not sure how useful this is, but in your case, it might be very useful. So I can go back to that day, and I can see all of the log lines during that day. You can close that. What you probably will want to use it for is something like this, in the top one here, where you have events stretching over multiple days. For, like I said before, maintenance windows. You might have scheduled downtime, stuff like that, and you can click on some of these, and you get more information here. We should probably be aware of the Raptor cages shutting down here. I'm not sure, probably a good idea. You can add tags here. Let's say that you have tickets somewhere and you want to link that as well. So that's a really good use case for it. So and you can list all the events for one day here, and that's really all to it. I'm sorry. That's
the day you call in sick.
That's That's probably a good time to use your PTO.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want that. Stay away. But yeah, so there's not much other than what I've showed you with the calendar plugin. If you have suggestions on how to improve it, please let me know, or any of the other the plugins as well. So feel free, try it out and use it. If you have a Loki data source, just connect it and it will work right off the bat with the calendar panel. And of course, you can combine the JSON API and the calendar panel to if you have a public REST API somewhere and you want to see when the new movie's out. I don't know. You can combine it, of course. So really cool. That's what I have to show you for today. Hope you found a new favorite, maybe.
Great, thank you. That was very neat.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, the calendar panel was. I was surprised to get that much feedback from it. I did not expect that, and I thought it was going to be this niche panel, but it turns out that it's actually quite popular, and it's one of now it's actually one of my top plugins. I did not expect that, so it's really cool. Yeah, I think that's we're coming up on time here, so we have 2 minutes left of this community call, and I hope certainly that you found something that you liked. The Polystat Panel is a great tool to get like a whole overview of your infrastructure, and then drill it down, and find issues and group time series in a really nice way. Thank you, Brian, for showing us that. And I also gave you a review of some of my favorite plugins. I hope that you liked some of them, and that you build your own eventually. I would love to see that. If you have built your own plugin and you want to demo it to the world, reach out to any of us, and you can come on this community call, and we would love to have you and have you explain how to use it for us to see, but also for the world to see as well. So thank you again for joining in. I'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, you too. That was great.
Bye.